What is going on YouTube? Today what we're doing is dropping our video for the teams of the month of February. I did kind of delay it. You'll notice that we're about a week into February already, just because the season was coming to an end and we hadn't really seen anything big come. So I was kind of wondering if they would drop some kind of surprise Gogeta or something like that. That was not the case. We got this blue banner here. Anyways, so let's get into today's video. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so as usual you have the information for the giveaway on your screen. Make sure that you're subscribed. You must be a subscriber in order to join the giveaway, and make sure that you're liking the video and posting in the comments below the answers to 2 questions I'll be dropping during this video. Make sure that you go back throughout the dates posted up so that you can get your answers in and get as many chances to win as possible. With that being said, let's get into the video. So what you have on your screen, yeah, these are some familiar faces, I know, mainly because these are still the 2 best teams, and I'll explain because there's definitely a shift in the meta, right? There's a lot that changed, and we're going to look at other teams after these. We're going to go very quickly because I've talked about these 2 teams specifically very recently. I mean, you could just go back and get a very detailed explanation by going to the old videos, but what I do want to touch on is a bit of the functionality of why they are still on top, even with everything that we've had released now, with time to have tested everything. I mean, the movie team, again, just remains untouched in terms of versatility, right? And you know that my team lists always have to do with kind of stacking the odds in your favor of winning, right? So having functional units in all color slots is a priority. Having huge Z ability buffs to take as little damage as possible while dishing out as much damage as possible, always a priority. Looking for that utility, right? So looking for that, you know, the card destructions, the feints, the going through blast cards, the damage cuts. You have so many buffs on this team. You have even the bonus damage to Super Saiyans with the Bojack and the damage to the Frieza Force with the Pycon. You have everything on this team, right? Heals even. You have literally, there's nothing missing to this team as of right now. And I can only see it getting better as we continue to get units like Cooler, the Meta Cooler. You know, there's so many movies that we can get units from still, and I'm sure that they're all going to be amazing. So, I mean, we won't go too far into this team because I literally just did a video not too long ago on this, but it's still on top for those reasons, whereas the other ones tend to have a weakness. This one does not. It's not even full Saiyan, so that you can say, oh well, you can just use units that are anti-Saiyan. No, you go up against those units, you just use literally the other units that aren't Saiyans here. We're only using 2 Saiyans, and those 2 Saiyans are Brolys. So I mean, it's just one of those kind of all-around teams right now. The Holy Trinity has definitely closed the gap. I mean, these teams are getting more and more equal, I find, as they release these units. I was actually really surprised at how good it felt using the Holy Trinity while I was kind of doing some, just kind of, you know, catch up on all the teams, playing them through. I mean, having the Kaba, you'll notice on the Trinity there, I mean, the first 3 units are still your bread and butter, right? The Bardock, the Gogeta, and the Broly. Still very, very lethal, but you do get the bonus onto that Kaba, and with his 6 seconds 70% damage boost to his blast attacks with Bardock's buff giving you crits, holy, it's so good. The green part of this unit gives that kind of versatility that the Holy Trinity needed, right? It was kind of always just those same 3 units. You knew what they were bringing, you knew what colors they were using, and you know how to prepare for them. Kaba kind of gives it a second dimension, and of course we still have the Super Vegeta there. If anything, he's there for buffs, because he does buff your crit even further with his double buff passive there. So, I mean, if you were to bring him for any reason, right, like you just want to bring a yellow unit, I mean, you can definitely run him with the Kaba and get that boost going to a strike. I wouldn't suggest you do so, but it is something that you can do. And of course the Raditz there strictly to give a bunch of health to all these units, looking at that Broly there. So definitely still top contender, very close to the movie team. If the Z ability buffs and just the overall versatility was better, I would probably put them number 1 with the release of Kaba, honestly. Yeah, having that green unit just feels so good. But they are all Saiyans. We do have a ton of anti-Saiyan tags. They are still limited. They don't have any kind of anti-tags to deal with specifics that would counter them otherwise. So looking at Lineage of Evil, for example, that Frieza coming in with the cooler buffs is very brutal for this team. So it's definitely still second place, but still definitely has its weaknesses. Maybe a good yellow unit would kind of round it out, right, to have that full color wheel. The Vegeta is kind of very situational in that sense. But anyways, that's enough about these two teams. I think that by now we understand that these two teams are extremely strong and that they're going to continue evolving as we go. Obviously, now Super Saiyans being mostly done, we're likely going to move to a different Saiyan meta as the blues come out and so on and so forth. We'll have to wait until Gogeta comes out probably to mark that territory. But let's move on from these to the more, I guess, less streamlined teams, right? I mean, we've all seen these same two teams kind of over and over and over. But the next thing I want to talk about is this right here. So we have the Regeneration team. Yeah, I know, you're probably surprised, and I'm surprised as well. But the release of Zamasu, now I was going to make a standalone video and kind of thought, well, you know what, it's better to have that direct comparison right after we look at the movie and Trinity team, just kind of explore why this is kind of a thing, right? So what do they bring? They bring a lot of damage reduction, they bring a lot of damage, right? That's the strength of the top two teams right now. Well, Regeneration kind of has that outlast potential, right? There's a lot of healing on this team, there's a lot of utility on this team. Looking at Zamasu being able to tank all the way through. If you drop a Rising Rush on them, he tanks that, comes back, pops his main ability, heals. And then you have Boo healing, you have a lot of healing, and basically you waste your Rising Rush, and then Zamasu gets a tank all over again. So it's kind of one of those just annoying teams that may outlast you if you are not careful. The Djemba, again, I love this unit. I said he needs some support in order to be effective. Regeneration can't survive with Djemba alone. Now he's got that Zamasu there. Feels so good. You've got Majin Buu now with the increased stats doing work in terms of tankiness, and you do have some damage options if you so choose. You can still Dragon Balls for a quicker Rising Rush if that's going to be a thing. I mean, especially with the Broly killing being such a priority. Still in Dragon Balls and getting a quicker Rising Rush actually is a good idea at this point from that Piccolo. Looking at the Cell, again, the damage buff, excuse me, to the Super Saiyans feels actually really good. He is a red unit, so he does struggle against that Bardock, but overall does some pretty good burst given the situation, right? The blue Piccolo, again, if you can pop all of his damage abilities, he still does ridiculous amounts of blast damage. He is a blue unit, so that is a good thing, although you are starting to deal with some potentially very lethal green units, so kind of take it with a grain of salt. This team definitely is strong, but has a lot of weaknesses as well, specifically its offense, although you do have that quicker Rising Rush and the Piccolo, but the Piccolo has his weaknesses as well. Cell is kind of outdated. I think that Regeneration is one of those teams to watch where it's just going to trail behind the top tiers for now, and once we start seeing the boost, right, I mentioned this back before we even leveled up to 2000. Keep your eye on Regeneration because they are getting a lot of utility. The foundation is so solid right now for this team. That's Zamasu and Djemba just holding it down for sure, and then having those options right for the other slots. Once we start getting that Buuhan, that Buu tanks, the Kid Buu, I mean, we've got a whole bunch of Majin Buu Saga units coming eventually if they decide to finally finish it, right? And once they drop those, you know they're gonna do huge damage and they're gonna have such solid support. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Regeneration jump straight up to rank 1 as soon as those units drop, honestly, just because the utility is so far above both the Holy Trinities and the movie teams. As much as I hate to say it, you know how much of a fanboy I am of the movie team right now, but Regeneration has just better a higher skill ceiling rather than the movie team. Just flat out, they have the blast penetration, they have, yes, the buffs, they have the damage reduction, they have you know, the feints, the heals, and all that. But I mean, they don't have a Djemba, they don't have a designated tank in the form of Zamasu. You know, they don't have that foundation that can literally just take a damage dealer and just play protect, you know, where you outlast your opponent and then dish out a bunch of damage, right? So definitely, if you have not been working on your regeneration team, get on that for sure. The last team we're going to look at that I kind of want to throw in there, the rest, honestly, they're out there. I mean, talking about the Lineage of Evil, honestly, I like the Lineage of Evil, but at that point, just play the movie team. If you don't have movie units, you're not a whale. I mean, just play the Holy Trinity, right? Why bother with the lineage when the Holy Trinity is just better? You know, it's kind of hard for me to justify, you know, replacing Broly with Cooler, replacing, what are you going to do, use Frieza, but then he has type disadvantage against Gogeta, who's critting him for bonus damage. Just, you know, everything doesn't seem to quite fit the meta for Lineage of Evil. Maybe once we get a quick shift, they may rise up a bit more, but, you know, that's just an honorable mention. What I want to actually talk about, though, is a potential future team. This is still a team that is quite far below the other teams, including Regeneration, by the way. Regeneration will outlast this team easily, hands down. But it is something that was fairly recent that you may have caught units for. There were a lot of freebies here. A lot of people rolled on these for a while. So this is definitely a team that you could be using. So I want to kind of talk about the makeup here. Because first of all, we have the God Key Goku there. You may be wondering why that's there. I mean, you have the Zamasu that again will be your tank, right? So you're going to be protecting your carries, right? So that's the theme for this team. So essentially, you're going to have the Zamasu that is going to be extra tanky, getting that bonus health, getting crit. I mean, crit isn't a big deal, right? But it's mostly for the HP, right? 90% is no joke on Zamasu that has a decent health pool, some heals already. I've already talked about Zamasu, but it's also the fact that we have just overall buffs coming from the blue trunks. We have Goku Black, which actually does a lot of work on this team. He's got the anti-Saiyan tag, so he goes well against a lot of the meta right now. He also brings the anti-hybrid Saiyan tag, so if anyone is trying to play any shenanigans and mixing up with the Gohan, for example, I know that some people have been running the new Universe 6 units. I mean, that will basically be your bread and butter right here in this Goku Black. The yellow Gohan is there mostly to, yes, do damage, and you will be protecting him using the Zamasu, but if the Rising Rush comes out, you're actually going to most likely, depending on where your Zamasu is, right, you're more free to kind of rotate Zamasu around and protect the carries, and then just eat the Rising Rush with the Gohan to then get buffs on the other two units, and have Zamasu there to kind of tank even more, right, with that revive still available, and use that buff to its maximum, right? Mai is literally, no joke, just there to buff. She is just there to buff. Do not use Mai. As much as the fact that she buffs the other units, a la Bardock or whatever, is cool. I mean, her buff is not worthwhile, not worth bringing, right? It's kind of like the green Vegeta. You know, just bringing him for a green card, meh. And you know what I think about the revive. He doesn't do anything to kind of merit bringing that revive, and so otherwise he's basically just a green card, and that's not worth it. Well, same thing with Mai. You know, she's a green unit who's gonna get stomped by Broly. She's not gonna do any damage. She doesn't bring enough utility to say, okay, I'm bringing this just as a support unit. It's not at that level yet, right? So definitely run the later four, looking at Zamasu, looking at the Goku Black, the Gohan, the blue Trunks. Mix and match them, right? Run them accordingly. Look at the enemy team, right? It's mostly going to be, generally speaking, the Trunks, the Zamasu, and then either the Gohan or the Goku Black. Try it out. It's a lot of fun, and it actually can be competitive, but just not, you know, at the top level. I would say use this while you're leveling up. It's a new season. I'll also be dropping another video soon on a very fun team to level up. That's probably going to be the next video, actually. You know what? It will be the next video. Next video, we're going to talk about a fun team to level up with while you're just kind of stomping people. it's good times. So I'll save that for the next video. For this video, though, do take everything here with a grain of salt. A lot of it will have to do with how much you were rolling on all of the recent units, how lucky you were. For example, the movie team, you cannot run it unless it is a complete 5-star team. It drops significantly if you don't have 5 stars across the board. Obviously, losing all those Z abilities, you know, the double buffs coming in, extremely key. So I mean, I make individual videos usually for a reason, so do go back, take a look at those, get the full explanation, know what you're doing going into those matches, and I will see you guys in the next video. But before that, I almost forgot, you almost got me, but we'll have the 2 questions for this video. First one, what was your favorite team out of this video? Of the 4, which is your favorite to run? And of course, the second question is, how would you organize these teams, right? Because I find that specifically Holy Trinity and the movie team are getting extremely close, right? Before it was kind of like, oh, well, you only have those 3 units on the Holy Trinity, they do very well, you're just praying for crits, meh. The addition of Kaba, the synergy that he brings, and the potential for the future, right? If we do get that kind of extra unit, definitely changes the game a little bit and puts the Trinity back up towards that rank 1 spot. You know, obviously if you don't have the 5 stars on the movie team, it is rank 1, period. But yeah, let me know what you think the best team is. So first question, which one is the most fun to you? Second question, which one is #1, period, for you? Drop that down in the comments. Make sure that you're subscribed, and I will see you in the next one. See ya!